Hey there folks, and welcome to this video. Here I'm going to be talking about Spa, and after an accident on the weekend at the Spa-Francorchamps involving drivers such as Jack Aitken, who has ended up with, I believe, a broken collarbone and some broken vertebrae as a result of the collision, there's more discussion again over, well, what could be done to make Spa safer. There are currently some overhaul plans, including introducing a gravel trap on the left-hand side of the Eau Rouge Radian complex, but that's more to do with bringing it in line with FIM standards, so motorcycle racing can go to Spa. But what I'm going to do is use video games and sim racing as a way of being able to explore what we're talking about here, and some of the problems that Spa has. Because at the end of the day, someone like Callum Ilott, when he was talking about it, his car, it wasn't him driving at the time, was taken out in his contact. He's like, I love coming to Spa, I will come here again, but this is the second time in the span of 2 years that I've been at a race event at Spa where there's been a serious accident. Of course, he was making reference to, in 2019, the horrific accident to the top of Radion that claimed the life of Antoine Hubert and seriously injured with life-changing injuries, and at some stages life-threatening injuries, to Manuel Correa. So what I'm going to do is load up ATC. This is at night, I understand, but I commentate for a league called British University Sim Racing, and I compete in some of their events. In fact, I was competing yesterday, and you can find the stream on my channel. Making use out of the fact that I've got this camera at a wider angle than I usually do, because I haven't changed it back. But this was an incident that happened last season at Spa, involving, well, some of my friends, albeit virtually, of course. But it's a similar kind of incident, and what I'll do is I'll show you what happens here. You've got this first one here. This is my friend Thomas Gaskins. He spins at the top of the hill. You've got these three who are battling for the lead. Don't see him. 1, 2, 3, all collected in this incident. After this, the cars can see the yellow flag, and they avoid it. But that is, in terms of the cars, I believe one of them these two try to limp around. One of them actually does just return to the garage, and the orange McLaren, which we'll go on board with now. Alex, if you're watching this, I am not just doing this to traumatise you, because he's one of the cars, he's a driver for the 35. But you can see what happens in this incident for these kinds of drivers. So, there's the McLaren up the front of Gaskins who spun. You get your warning that there's a car stopped here. So, Alex cannot see. You might be about to see. Hang on, some of the lighting's not exactly right, but you can't see because the 46 Aston is there. You can't see anything. And now you go face to face with another car, and then you've got another car going into you as well. And the thing is, so like I said, they weren't right up for the lead because Harry Spears is up here leading by 10 seconds, but this is a battle for second, and these three all get taken out. If I go to Gaskins, and I've got the HUD up as well now, you'll see he does everything right. He spins, holds the brakes immediately, not on the throttle, but gets collected by three cars who are all going really fast. And I can show you in that split second where he has spun what people are talking about with changing Spa. And let's take the HUD off again. F7, control F7 so then it doesn't clip. Spa as a track has got so much tarmac runoff, as you can see here. And in cars, especially GT cars, track limits are, now the Aston is just outside of track limits, but track limits are defined by two wheels on the curb, in essence. Sometimes you can get away in things like ATC, not necessarily in iRacing, with putting your car on the painted line, like Williams just about done here. But typically, at least in iRacing, it would be a slowdown. It wouldn't be like a 1x or anything. In ACC, you might get a track limits warning for it. But that's beside the point, given the fact that you're about to get yourself in a multiple car pile up with the two people that you're racing. Now, the argument is, putting gravel here will mean that the drivers will have to take wider and slower lines. That'll be enough to stop them from having the problem where they're going off here, because the other problem is with tyre barriers here and catch fencing, there's a massive propensity for a car to be able to bounce off the wall and back onto the track. Hello, spectators, by the way. But in terms of safety, it's the only things you can do to make it safer. I'm not talking 94 chicane, where after the deaths of Ayrton and Roland Ratzenberger and the serious crash through Harlow at the Imola weekend, F1 essentially put a chicane, so you went here, then you went all the way over to the barrier and followed the barrier all the way around. That's not going to necessarily solve the problem. It might do it if you're trying to do a one-off solution, but at the end of the day, it's not ideal. And actually, with the gravel here, that would be quite cool for the rallycross track that just runs off into this complex around here. But what you can also do is, Eau Rouge, if you look into older simulators, so there are mods for R-Factor 2 and also the original Assetto Corsa that have the 1966 version. What happens is on that track, so I keep phasing through the earth, you phase to the right, you go all the way around to the left, and it's a longer sweeping right-hander than back up here. I mean, the Camel doesn't really exist because it keeps on going like this and this and this and then off into the distance like you see with the roads here. Of course, there have been so many changes to Spa. Even in my lifetime, it was still partially a street circuit from all the way over here with Stavelot. It was a street circuit going all the way around through the modern-day Grand Prix loop. That's also public roads. Down here, there's still some public roads off there. To Les Combes. So realistically, it was only from Les Combes to Stavelot that was permanent circuit when I was born. They can reprofile this. And they can make it go out wider, because historically it was. They could also put the gravel in, which will slow the cars down and also mean that there's less of a reward for going wide here. So cars will have to back off. But at the same time, you have the problems of what happens when cars dig in. And that's where they prepared for another thing. Which is these barriers are getting brought way, way back. I think they're trying to destroy this house, which obviously is having quite a nice party right now. Or they're just going to bring the barrier properly in line here. But they're trying to widen out the left-hand side as well, even though they're putting gravel in there. Because at the end of the day, gravel does slow down the cars. In terms of rollover and safety, motorsport's come along a long way. But at the same time, that's just the way that it's the way that this kind of thing is now, and that's the way that these series work. The way that motorsport is it is always dangerous, but we can always do things to make it safer. And this is something that I've talked about for ages. I don't know if IA are going to do an inquest in this, because at the end of the day, it's an SRO event, and SRO are probably likely going to be doing their own inquest. But we'll have to wait and see. At the end of the day, it's an FIA sanctioned cars. FIA GT3s. So, yeah, I don't know what's going to be happening. I wish for a speedy recovery, and thank Christ nobody got any worse injuries than what Aiken did. Even though it's disappointing to see that we can't prevent all injuries, the kind of damage that Lambo took tells you about the kind of testament to safety of these cars. But of course, we did have the passing of a marshal at Brands Hatch over the weekend. And that is a reminder that motorsport can be dangerous. And thanks to all the wonderful kinds of marshals and other volunteers you have at the tracks that help keep motorsport going. Motorsport and sports like Formula 1 may be multiple billion-dollar enterprises. But it's built off the back of volunteers. From all the way down your grassroots motor clubs to the highest up at the highest up series in the world. And on that note, thank you for watching. I hope to see you around.